Today I see roses wither, all that is water turns to stone, all that was loved and comforted is left uncared for and alone.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, my dear brothers, sisters, elders, respected scholars, and all those who are watching from around the globe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to part 3 of the 4-part series, which we begin to analyze the words and sermons of Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam. A sermon which is full of eloquence and knowledge and full of wisdom. Surely in the words of Fatima are the ample lessons which we can all learn from. In the previous episodes, we began to analyze a part where she says, faith has been set so it as to cleanse you of shirk. Prayer is prescribed to keep you away from pride. Charity has been prescribed to purify oneself and results in the increase of sustenance. Fasting has been prescribed so that genuineness may be reinforced. Pilgrimage to Mecca has been prescribed to establish the religion. Justice is prescribed to establish proper harmony in the hearts. The obligation to follow us, the Ahlul Bayt, has been prescribed to set up order in the community, and our leadership, Imamah, has been prescribed to save the people from differences. We talked about prayer and the sincerity in your prayers. We talked about charity as well as the rewards of giving both for the individual and for society at large. And today, inshallah, we shall talk about fasting, justice and unity, and try to get through as much as we can in the 15 minutes we have today, inshallah. Okay, so we continue on from the last episode. We move on to the part where she says fasting has been prescribed so that genuineness may be reinforced. First of all, let's point out that she mentions a spiritual benefit when she talks about fasting. Let's emphasize on that point. She talks about the spiritual benefit of fasting. Usually when people want to explain the benefits of fasting, they talk about the physical benefits, for example, the benefits it may have on your health. They talk about the benefits of fasting and, the digestive system or the health in general. But when we ask why should we fast, here Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam talks about the spiritual benefit of fasting. She says fasting has been prescribed so that genuineness may be reinforced. She's talking about the effectiveness of fasting on the self, a spiritual benefit rather than a very apparent physical benefits which many may be quick to point out. And that's the very same thing that the Quran talks about. It talks about the spiritual effect of fasting on the soul. So tell me, what does the Quran say when it talks about the reasons why fasting has been prescribed? Can anyone remember? The Quran says something very similar to Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam in Surah number 2, ayah number 183. The Holy Quran says, "O you who believe, fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, so that you can reach taqwa." As we know, taqwa means God consciousness, and as Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam says, genuineness. You see, the act of fasting is a very personal act between you and your Lord. You can pretend to fast, you can pretend to others that you are fasting, and you can sneak a quick drink or food in the room without anyone seeing you. It's between you and Allah. Except Allah, you cannot hide from, and that is why the God consciousness is something that you attain when you fast. He will always see you. So to reach the high level of taqwa and God consciousness is being able to fast and practicing that self-restraint. Fasting has a lot of benefits on the soul and spirit of an individual, and that was precisely what Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam was pointing out. Now we move on to the next part where she says justice is prescribed to establish proper harmony in the hearts. Now, justice is the vocal point of her speech. As we all know, part of her speech, part of her aim was to seek justice when she went out to deliver the speech. And here she is explaining how destructive oppression and injustice is. If you want to create harmony in society and in the hearts of individuals, then justice must be maintained. Seeking justice is something which we see in every society and in every situation. Every society, in every situation, people seek to demand justice. Even today, we see many scenarios where we see different groups of people demanding justice. And then, when justice is not maintained, we see total chaos in society. Not long ago, we saw the Black Lives Matter movement and many people demanding justice for the black community when it comes to police brutality as well as institutional discrimination. We then saw that this demand of justice led to riots and destructions in many cities across the globe. Now, if justice had been maintained, then we would have seen harmony in society as well as in the hearts of individuals. So Fatima's words were very powerful in reminding them that you are a society which carries out many injustices, which will lead to the destruction of society. If you want to see harmony in society, if you want to see society flourish, then you must maintain justice. And we see her demanding her justice later on in her speech when she explains how she has been treated in an unjust manner. When she explains how she has had her inheritance taken away from her, and the ironic thing is how until today, okay, in this day and age, when people want to attack Islam, they attack it by saying women are not entitled to inheritance. I have been involved as well as witnessed many discussions whereby people try to claim that Islam oppresses women. And the first thing they say is that women in Islam are not entitled to inheritance. Until today, the ironic thing is, this is one of the major attacks on Islam. When they say that women are oppressed under Islam, they say that Islam does not grant women inheritance. And here you see a woman, the daughter of the Holy Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, standing up to the men of the community, demanding her rights and her justice. And if that isn't female empowerment, then ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what is. In a time where even here in the West did not grant women the rights of inheritance. We have a woman in Arabian society, in the most male-dominated society you would ever come across or would ever find, a society that only a few years back believed females did not have the right to even live, and they used to bury their female infants alive. Here you have the most powerful display of female leadership standing up and speaking in such an eloquent manner, demanding justice and her rights. And this is a lesson for all of us women out there. We live in a society which constantly attacks us. It attacks our hijab. It attacks our status in religion. We are constantly being attacked, but we have the right to defend ourselves. We have the right to speak up. We have the right to educate others. We can be female educators, and do not believe anyone who tells you otherwise. We have to learn power and leadership from Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam. We have to learn the art of speaking up and defending ourselves in times of oppression. And Fatima goes on to defend her rights and seeking justice in the most eloquent and sophisticated manner possible. She goes on to say, now, Fatima-Zahra alayhi salam says, now you presume that we do not have any inheritance from the Prophet. She tells them, do not follow the customs of the age of ignorance. Is it judgment of the days of ignorance that they desire? Who else can be better than Allah to judge for the people of assured faith? Indeed, it is as bright as the sun that I am the daughter of the Prophet of Allah. O Muslims, is it befitting that I am deprived of my inheritance? Is it contained in the glorious Quran that one should not inherit from their father, while in your opinion I should not inherit from my father? Indeed, you have come up with an unusual thing attributed upon Allah and His Prophet. Did you then intentionally forsake the book of Allah and leave it behind your backs? Allah says, and Sulaiman inherited Dawood in regards to the life of Zechariah. He says, so grant me from yourself an heir who shall inherit from me and inherit from the family of Yaqub. Now, From this segment, we learned that if you want to demand any justice or to make any point, especially when it involves religion, then back it up with the Quran and all valuable sources. This is one of the most major lessons. If you want to make any change or you want to prove a point, always back it up with the Quran. Fatimatul-Zahra's speech was full of Quranic verses in order to convince and show these people the mistake in their actions. She goes on to say, you assume that I do not have a share of allowance in the inheritance, and that I should not inherit from my father, and that there are no relations between us. Has Allah in his verses of the Quran not taken into consideration everyone in general and not all of the classes of men included in these verses? Is my father discharged from the applicability of this verse? Or do you say that two people of the same community do not inherit from one another? Are my father and I not a part and parcel of one community? Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam is very direct in her fight for justice. Her arguments are very strong and direct. It's backed up with evidence and Quranic verses. It makes it hard for anyone to deny. Our words should be also the words of great weight. When we speak, we should also seek to speak with the words of wisdom and knowledge. The concept of justice, both socially and legally, is constantly mentioned in the Holy Quran. And one of the fundamental lessons we learn from the Sermons of Fadak is that we have the right to speak out when we are treated in an unjust manner. Fight for justice, just like the son of Fatima, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, who is known globally as a seeker of justice and freedom. He is known for his ultimate stand for social justice in the face of corruption. If we see others being oppressed, it's our duty to stand up and speak up. Now moving on to the part when Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam added, "O people, be informed that I am Fatima, and my father is Muhammad. I say that repeatedly and initiate it continuously. I say not what I say mistakenly, nor do I do what I do aimlessly." What was Fatima trying to say? She wanted to clarify to all those present that I am Fatima. So later on, they cannot go and say otherwise. I am making this clear to you all, as she clearly is. And secondly, what she's trying to say is recognize who my father is, the Holy Prophet of Islam, the man you claim to follow, yet as soon as he's gone, you go against his daughter. You turn your backs. And thirdly, what she's trying to say is, what I say is not out of emotion or mistake or without any aim. I say what I say for a purpose. And it's quite ironic that even today, when our dear brothers try to explain the Sermon of Fadak, they say that Fatima done a mistake by speaking up. She acted out of emotions. You hear this from brothers and sisters from other sects, and I've heard this myself in person. They say she was emotional and it was a mistake. But here Fatima makes it very clear that I am not speaking out of mistake. I know fully well what I am saying, and you cannot then claim I made a mistake by speaking up. I have a right to speak up, and I will defend this religion, the purity of this religion, as well as the rights to justice. I speak to all those who are seekers of justice worldwide in today's world. If you want to see the best example of those who fought for justice and the manner and methods which they used to seek justice, so much so that they are remembered worldwide today as seekers of justice, then look no further than Fatimatul-Zahra and her sons, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and you will find the best example of the seekers of justice. It's no coincidence that the children of Fatima, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, are also known for their fight for justice and for speaking out in the face of tyrants. When you have a mother like Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam, you produce children like Al-Hassan, Al-Hussein, and Zainab. Throughout history, people have gained inspiration from this honorable woman, and it's a shame many of us have not studied her life, her words, as well as her fight for justice, especially in a society which made it increasingly difficult for women to speak up. I thank you once again for listening, and inshallah, we shall see you in the last and final episode of this series where we analyze the Sermon of Fadak by Fatimatul-Zahra alayhi salam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sayyada Tahira Raziya, Sayyada Tahira Marziya, Sayyada